Welcome to this edition of Wagyu Love. I'm so glad you're joining me today because I want to talk about while you're away from home. The biggest amount of time you're away from your home is like when you're out working or you're out socializing with friends. And Fido is, of course, most of the time left at home. If you've been home working during quarantine or your lockdown or whatever your area of the country may have called it, you were home all that time. Fido became maybe a little bit dependent on you. So it may be useful for you to have these tips. If you got a puppy during your COVID, during your lockdown, some of these tips will be especially important for you. There's five or six of them. First, the tip I want to talk about is keeping your dog safe. You're going to be away from home longer, and there's more trouble that Fido can get into without you there, but they should be safe. Consider putting them in a crate if they're crate trained while you're gone. Make sure that it's, of course, the appropriate size, blocking off a room so that they have plenty of room. Or maybe consider daycare, either one day a week or many every day of the week while you're gone for long periods of time, especially if it's 8, 10, 12 hours that you're gone. I also like doggy daycare for maybe you're going straight out to dinner with a group of friends. If there's a doggy daycare in your area that's open until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, because people do work those kind of shifts, and you may find a doggy daycare that is open later, they don't have to spend the day alone. It also gives Fido a chance to maybe work with somebody, maybe some bad behaviors that they may have picked up when you were home with them over COVID. I know my dogs have done that. They're a little nervous. They get a little bit of separation anxiety. And I know that Eve talked about it in our March 16th episode. Some of the behaviors that she sees for dogs that have been home with their masters and mistresses during COVID and they're getting dropped off at doggy daycare to make that transition easier. And it's not that we're bad owners, it's not that we're bad people. There are some bad behaviors that just happen that come up, and I'm a true believer, a true convert in doggy daycare to assist in helping with Fido, helping with that care. But one thing you can do is tire your dog out before you're gone for these long periods of time. Dogs like to sleep and they will sleep, and it helps if they're tired out. But I also think that they shouldn't have free reign in the house, no matter how old your dog is. I like to have my pups in a room before my dogs were crate trained. I would block them off in a room in the house, and usually it was the kitchen. I would make sure everything was taken off the counter so there was no counter surfing by my dogs. Think of how long their arms are, and if they're tall, they could just swoop everything up. So, it did have a benefit. My counters were clean, but also in there, it gave them a little bit of room to move around, and being blocked off kept the rest of the house safe. They didn't jump over what I barricaded them in with. I had something simple, and the kitchen was their domain. And I also did have a crate in there with their bed in it so that they could go in there and sleep, but they didn't have to be put in there. And it also, another tip that I have is turn on the TV for some white noise. You know, it's really helpful for them so that they don't hear every single noise from outside. It also gives them that white noise of maybe there are people talking in the background, and it may help them calm down in with the barking. My next tip is keep your dog entertained with proper chew toys, maybe a frozen Kong, and there are some really wonderful food dispensing toys that keep your dog occupied, that keep their minds, for lack of a better word, engaged. The one thing I need to add to this is never leave your dog alone with a toy that could be chewed apart and swallowed. That is the biggest thing, keeping your dog entertained. Ensure that your dog gets a bathroom break or a potty break and maybe some midday attention. If you have a puppy can hold its bladder for about 4 hours, and that's a really long time for a puppy. And an adult dog can be a little bit longer. That's a good amount of time for them to get some attention. Maybe have a dog walker come in. That brings me to my next tip, making sure that your dog is getting adequate exercise. If your dog is going to spend the majority of the day in a crate or even at home alone, blocked into their particular room in the house, you want to make sure that they're getting exercise because they are like people where if they don't get enough exercise, it can cause weight gain, it can cause depression in them because they are missing you. Then that tiredness of getting a good amount of exercise helps with that. And it keeps them from just being plain old bored, and if that exercise may mean you're getting up early and taking Fido for a walk, maybe when you get home after giving them a loving greeting, you dedicate some time to go in the backyard and play some fetch. I know my dogs love to go out and play fetch. They like to take a nice walk so that they can burn off some of that energy. It's nice to do it before you go out, but getting enough exercise is definitely a top priority if you're going to be away from home 8, 10, 12 hours. And also that goes along well with that midday break. If you're bringing in a dog walker, have them take Fido out for a walk, have them play some fetch, relieve some of that boredom, relieve some of that energy that's just kind of pent up because they are missing you. Another tips that I want to give is if you are going back to work or if you adopted a puppy, practice short trips away from Fido, especially working home from COVID. You've been home for maybe the past year or several months. Maybe you've worked part time at home and you're going to be away full time, so it's going to be longer. And especially with a puppy, when you first bring home a puppy, what I like to do is get them to their space that's gonna be theirs because you should have already prepared that, and you know where they're gonna spend the majority of their time when you are away from home, and I get them settled, and the next thing I do is I go out for a cup of coffee. I might hit the Starbucks drive-through, so I'm only away for just a few minutes. It's a quick trip, and then I come home, and Fido knows that you're coming back. You've left and you've come back, and that you are teaching them just know that your dog misses you when you're gone. They miss your company when they're left home alone. You are their everything. We as humans, we have the outside world. We have our friends. They might have their friends at the dog park, but you are their everything. And it's important to be able to assist them and keeping them from any kinds of bad behavior that may be happening from them adjusting you being gone for those long periods of time. So I want to say thank you for listening today. Eve is going to return in June and we're going to talk summertime. I'm looking forward to that. I'm also going to be bringing on somebody to talk about feeding Fido, food and diets, and what you should be feeding your dog. They have special needs. They're not the same as our humans, and what will help them live a long and healthy life. All right. Thanks again. And for the love of all dogs, ta ta for now.